It's Wednesday, September 28th, 2011. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, the Geek Nights Worst Webcomic Contest of 2011.
Let's do this. So, we're in New York City.
We are.
You can get any food you want in the universe.
Pretty much anything. I had, for lunch, I had Mexican food, and last night for dinner, I had curry.
Yep.
And the previous day, I had Mexican food.
Great.
And the day before that, I had Mexican food.
Good job with the Mexican food.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I really hadn't had a burger in like a few weeks. So I was like, I'm getting a burger for lunch, bitches.
Thing is, New York, it's like the burger is one of our things.
Well,
Like the burger joint.
Well, here's the problem. There are no burger places close enough to my work, right? It's like I could go to the Shake Shack on Broadway, but I think it's on 8th near the Port
Dude,
Authority.
go to Schnippers. It's not that far from
Schnipper,
you.
that's still kind of far to go to Schnippers, which is a couple blocks further
Scott,
than
I used to
Shake
walk to
Shack.
Schnippers from my office.
You're crazy. Anyway,
I walk about a mile to get a good burger.
right? There was I can go to McDonald's. Fuck that, it doesn't even count. Five Guys doesn't even count.
No.
There's Island Burger, which is amazing, but you gotta sit. You gotta sit down at the Island Burger. It's not, you don't want to take out from the Island Burger.
Yeah, so there's a place near me. I don't know what it's called, but it's not a chain of any kind. It's just a burger joint. They have burgers, fries, and sweet potato fries, and very little else.
So one of my coworkers suggested this place that was still kind of far, called Le Parker Meridian. Now, here's the deal. He suggested it, and it was sort of iffy, and I was like, if not now, then when? So we went. So here, if you go to Carnegie Hall, all right, then you go east, right? Right. Remember where we went to
This means nothing to the majority of our listeners.
Remember we went to see Summer Wars in the Directors Guild?
Oh, yeah.
Immediately next door to that are some glass sliding doors. And on those glass sliding doors is the tree symbol that is the symbol used on private property when it's open to the public.
Yep, you
know
get
that?
a tax break for that shit.
Exactly. So that symbol was sort of embossed by like a laser on these glass automatic doors. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Well, what it is you go in there and there's like a fancy hotel bar, ultra fancy with music playing. And it's like, whoa.
All right.
Why is there the open to the public sign on those doors followed by a hotel bar?
For the tax break.
Is a hotel called Le Parker Meridian that is Le Fancy, very Le Fancy, right? It's on 109 West 56th Street, New York. And the entrance to the hotel is on the southern street, the 56th.
All right, Scott, so give it to me straight. On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being the minimally edible burger, so already above Five Guys.
You're not letting me finish the most important part of the story, is not the burger.
Okay.
You go into this hotel, it's ultra fancy. You walk through the hotel bar. You go in, and it's like another hotel seating area, sort of like a hotel lobby, and it's way fancy, all sorts of crazy modernish styling, right? And you're looking around, and you go to the concierge, big, long, concierge desk. It's made of stone, right? And you look to the right of the concierge desk, and there's a big red curtain. And then there's a seating area in front of the red curtain. There is a tiny, tiny, tiny area in between the red curtain and the concierge desk. Like, narrow enough for one person. You'd think it was just the way that to go into the back behind the concierge desk. But if you look...
Is that the burger joint?
If you look in this narrow hallway, there is a neon sign, a very small one, and it is neon bent into the shape of a burger. 2 yellow circles of neon with a little green and a brown and a red neon in the middle of it.
If this were an anime, this would take you to the burger dimension.
Maybe 6 inches square, 6 inches on each side square, neon. At
Scott,
the end
did
of
this take
little
you to the
hallway.
burger dimension?
You go down this hallway and you make a right turn, and suddenly you're in like this normal burger place with stuff written all over the walls and like movie posters and a big long line and people crowded in to a room about the size, maybe twice your living room. Is hidden in this little hotel. It totally is not fancy in any way whatsoever.
So, Scott, the burger. How's the burger?
It was about the same as Shake Shack.
Okay.
But, it was...
He gets points for style.
The style of being hidden behind the curtain in a incredibly fancy, open-to-the-public hotel lobby-ish area. But, yeah, for being so hidden, a lot of people fucking know where it is because there was a line out the door. And they do shakes, and they got a sign and the sign is like, here's how to order. If you don't order right, we're sending you to the back of the line.
Really? Soup Nazi style?
Yeah, it's like you have to go. They're like, here's how to order a burger. hamburger or cheeseburger, then, medium rare, well, whatever, then lettuce, tomato, onion, whatever, and then, if you don't do it just right, back of the line. You're taking too long. I'm thinking to go there like on a weekend. And the fries, while they look like McDonald's fries and they were that same style, they actually had a pretty good flavor to them. I think they might put something extra on them.
We'll see. I might be up that way for a meeting on Friday,
Yeah,
so I might take a late lunch.
Don't expect, a fucking amazing burger. Like,
No, I'm expecting a good, solid New York burger joint burger.
It's about the experience of going into the fancy hotel and there's a secret burger place hidden behind the curtain.
Perhaps behind a secret tunnel.
Yeah, that's the reason to go. Plus, I got a cheeseburger and fries, and it was $12. So, yeah.
So, as you all know, there is the Thundercats animation.
Oh.
It's kind of an anime, except it's made for American audiences and is in English.
Spirits of evil.
I've been watching. I watched the first 3 episodes.
I watched the first 1 episode.
It's okay.
All right.
My geek bite of it, the best I can say is okay. It's really well animated. Like, it looks really good. I really like the character designs. And I like the kind of aesthetic and where it's going.
I didn't see enough Mumra yet. Mumra's my man.
Mumra looked really kind of not scary and pathetic when he was out in the sunlight.
That sucks.
But when he was
Mumra toy.
So when he's inside, he's some scary shit.
That's
but
good.
then he gets knocked through a wall into the outside, and then he just looks like an old man, like
Well, that's how Mumra was. So they're actually being true to the original Mumra. But I had the best Mumra toy. It was like I had that full size action figure of Mumra the Ever Living.
Whoa! I had like no Thundercats toys.
I had a lot. I had the big castle and everything. And then I had this little Mumra toy. It was like a 3-inch Mumra, but it actually came in both forms, and it was a little tiny playset where you could spin him around. You could spin it around inside the playset to transform his decayed form. With the ancient spirits, yeah.
Ancient spirits
and
of
it came
evil.
with a tiny Mammut also.
So, I guess what bothers me about it is that the writing is actually kind of derpy in terms of dialogue. Like, the dialogue
was a little bit derpy in that first episode.
It does not get less derpy. Now, couple this with the fact that if you did not know this was an American cartoon, like on American TV, and you listen to it, this is one of the things I always say about anime dubs.
You think it was an anime English dub?
Yeah, if you listen to any anime dub, except for perhaps the Disney ones and maybe Cowboy Bebop, not knowing it's anime or not, just take a random person off the street and be like, listen to this audio. What is this from? And they'll know immediately if it's anime, because anime dubs kind of suck. But it's not the actor's fault, because I know for a fact that a lot of these actors that are in some shit dubs
are really good when they're doing something in English that was originally in English.
Yeah, or even voice acting, not I don't want to say not real acting, but not also face acting. So I think it just comes down to a combination of bad script writing and bad direction that makes these anime dubs all bad.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you look, the people who do the voices in Ponies have done a bunch of not as good voices in other things. But in Ponies, there's like some damn fine voice acting going on there.
Oh, My Little Pony has some of the best voice acting I've seen in a long time from anything.
Yeah.
But yet, somehow, despite the fact that this Thundercats is Studio 4C and looks amazing, it sounds like a crappy 90s anime dub.
I don't know.
And it's really, it really takes away from the epicness of it, because the characters just kind of say derpy, overdramatic things out of nowhere all the time with that kind of inflection that anime dubs always have.
My theory is that it has to do with the, doing it together, the different styles of doing it, right? Everyone in the same room doing it before the animation
but many
is done.
good things in America are done in the not cool style of everyone in the room. They're done it with everyone individually in their own private room.
But I think that from what I heard, I'm not 100% sure. I think the Ponies is done with everyone in the same room before they animate the mouths.
I am guessing it is, because I'm pretty sure that Futurama was done that way as well.
I think Futurama was also done that way, because if you look on the DVDs, you can actually, when they show the voice actors in the extras,
outtakes?
They're always in the same room together.
Yep.
And I think that style has a significant impact. Maybe
the way to find out for sure, I gotta know if the Archer dubbing is done that way or not, because Archer is also some fantastic, 100% grade A voice acting.
Yeah, and I don't think the show is funny, but the voice acting is pretty good.
It's weird. I usually understand where you're coming from. I know why you don't like Firefly. I can understand that. I know why you don't like you wouldn't want to own a dog, for example. I know why you don't like Star Trek. I cannot understand why you don't like Archer. Like, I don't get what you don't like about it.
It's not funny.
What's not funny about it?
What's funny about it?
The comedic timing of Archer and just all the other characters and the way they deliver their kind of realistic, about as witty as real people are banter.
They're not as witty as real people.
I would say that they're wittier than the average person. Yeah? It's like Meowschwitz in there. Whatever. Archer's the funniest show to come out on TV.
Okay.
Ever.
No.
But anyway, the Thundercats TV show, take it or leave it. I might keep watching it because the animation's really good and the plot's okay.
And you got nothing else to watch?
But I guess the problem is, the fundamental problem, I recently watched Madoka Magica, and fresh in my mind is the memory of what it feels like to watch something that's fucking awesome grade A. So watching this, it's like, I gotta watch the next episode, I guess.
Yeah, right? So speaking of Madoka Magica, here's something that's barely news, but I just want to make a point about it real quick because the rest of this episode is going to go long. In Japan, there was a grocery store called Lawson, or some kind of convenience store or something, convenience store chain Lawson, and they had a Madoka promotion. And the way the promotion worked is like you could get points by being a customer, and you could use the points to get exclusive Madoka Magica items. And there were only one of the items was a poster. And there was only 10 of them, period, right? So it's like you had to get enough points for the poster, and you get the points before anyone else.
That is a really good poster, though.
So the poster's pretty good. It's like a fancy 3D poster. It was signed by the voice actresses, and it's got the Madoka characters standing in front of Lawson wearing Lawson uniforms, I guess. You know, it's like you're basically buying an advertisement for the whatever. Or I don't know. So this poster was sold on Japanese eBay. Right? Equivalent, basically.
Yeah.
For 501,000 yens, that's 6,600 American dollars. Oh, Yahoo Japan auction site. Okay.
Okay. I mean,
even as the best poster in the universe, and there's only one of them, and friggin' God rubbed his dick on it. I'm not paying $6,600 for it. I'd pay $6,600
Scott,
for...
Here's what I would do. I would buy it for that much money.
Mm-hmm.
I would then illegally make prints and sell them for $100
The thing is,
each.
it's some kind of 3D poster with autographs is sort of the, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of people would probably be okay with the print.
I would pay $6,600 for a real arts, like, Mona Lisa on the wall type of situation. I'd pay a lot more than $6,600 for that. But you see, you know the point, right? For a poster, I'm not paying.
So very briefly, things of the day. We're talking about animation on these Wednesday nights most often. We were just talking about an anime that has great animation and derpy voice acting, and another show that has great animation and great voice acting. I submit to you a third example of great animation and also great voice acting, though they're cheating because it's
narration.
It's an announcer narrating stuff.
Yeah.
We've talked about these off and on, but if you have not seen all of the Goofy's Guide to Some Sport from the 40s and 50s Disney, you should watch all of them. So I picked a semi-random one. I was going to show you Goofy Gymnastics, but Scott insisted that it be changed to Goofy the Olympic Champ.
No, I've just said that the track and field is my favorite one, and that I kept asking to watch it, and you kept watching different ones.
Because the other ones are better. The best ones are in order: The Art of Skiing.
Skiing one's all right.
Goofy Gymnastics.
It's okay.
And the boxing one.
I like the Olympic one.
I do like the Olympic one. It's okay. I like how this era of Disney very often has the image of a stick of some kind that has burned down, or a match or something, and it's that little like black charred thing with a little bulb at the top kind of bent over.
Yep.
Like that particular icon is in so many Disney cartoons from that era. It's kind of funny. Now that I point that out, you'll see it everywhere, but this is Goofy showing you what it's like to be an Olympic champion in 1942.
A Goofy Olympic champion. So check this out. This is another, right? You all know the Daikon animation. If you don't, get out of here. This is something that I saw a tweet about. Basically, someone made a fan animation a long time ago combining Macross, which is my favorite, with Minky Momo, which I don't know really that much about. I just know it's a magical girl show. So they combined Minky Momo and Macross into this animation a zillion years ago. And, it's not the highest quality. There's a lot of still frames. The voice acting is over non-moving mouths and whatever. But very impressive for people who did not have computers. Incredibly impressive. In fact, it's better than a lot of things people make now that they do have computers. So if you are sitting around doing nothing and just playing WoW all day or whatever, shame. And if you're out there making stuff, then here's some cool stuff. That's cool and old and kind of interesting.
So before we get to the main bit, very briefly, in the meta moment, if you want to see us at the New York Comic Con, tell us you're going. We'll be there at various times
Walking
doing
around, looking
press-related
around.
stuff. MagFest is coming up. You should probably get a hotel room and register
Yesterday.
for MagFest soon before it sells out. It almost definitely is going to sell out.
Yep, Burning Apocalypse Con, 11
Burning
11.
Apocalypse Con 11/11/11 will probably also sell out.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. The Worst Webcomic Contest is done because we're judging it right the fuck now.
That's right.
And the book club book, which we will do an episode on next Thursday. The Ear, the Eye, the
But
Arm.
aren't we doing them not on Thursdays?
It's up to you.
I thought we already decided that.
All right. We will put it up at some point in the next week or two. Our review of The Ear, the Eye, the Arm by Nancy Farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And its sequel, The Throat, No.
No.
I was going to make a joke there, but...
The throat, the crotch, the foot.
Yeah, so here's my trouble. But for some reason, I could not come up with any other body parts except genitalia.
Of course.
So I kind of paused there and gave up.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so...
Worst webcomic contest. Let's get this over with.
So we were talking just a moment ago about how you should get off your ass and create something. So I want to make something very clear. Every single entry that we're about to talk about,
not
in our
every single, but
contest-
most of the entries.
not
The majority.
the ones that aren't just GoDaddy squatting pages
That's
are the people who do them. If you are not creating something and they did this comic, no matter how horrible, they are on some level better than you.
That's right.
Because at least they made something.
That's right.
And no matter how bad something is, I mean, you know what? Go listen to Geek Nights from 2005. We would not have been winning the best podcast contest.
Go look at the first Penny Arcade.
Yeah.
Still funny, though.
So we're going to go through a good number of the submissions
All
here.
of them.
Now, we had some very specific criteria for this contest.
We did.
You know, people had to submit the name of the comic and all that stuff, but we have some objective aspects of worstness that we wanted people to check off so that we could kind of categorize these comics. And I think this covers pretty much everything. The categories were bad art, bad writing, racist, sexist, tries to be funny and fails, tries to be serious and fails, never gets better as time goes on, fap comic that tries to pretend it isn't, and the author is crazy independent of the comic itself. That last one counts for a lot.
Well, we are going to judge these entirely subjectively.
Yep, Scott and I just have to come to some sort of consensus. I only have up the list of the comics, not who submitted them, so...
I have the full list.
Well, I'm not looking at the names of the people. They're scrolled off to the
Okay,
right.
well, we're just going to go in order of submission. So the first one and actually the second one that were submitted were the exact same one submitted by two different people.
Well, it's technically, there's two different comics there, but they're by the same person, and they're basically the same.
Yeah, we're going to put, if it's on the same website, I count it as the same webcomic, right? Like there was a last second entry that I didn't even really get enough time to look at.
I looked at it. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, but, it seemed to be a website with a whole bunch of comics done by the same crew of people. And it's like, dudes, that counts as one comic, right? It's, whatever. Anyway.
So, Mama Is and/or Hathor the Cow Goddess.
Yes. So this comic, basically the deal here is there's some lady who, she is a geek of breastfeeding. That is the thing she is into.
I do not think she is a geek. She is a nerd of breastfeeding.
Indeed.
Because I think that her knowledge and interest in breastfeeding is very deep. But I do
Incredibly
not
deep.
detect many other interests.
Well, she clear, you get an idea of like what this person, believes, and it's like, obviously she believes in breastfeeding, but on the other hand, she takes it way too far, right? And also,
how can you take it too far? I mean, breastfeeding like a boss on Deborah's desk.
no, like militant breastfeeding, like everybody, it's like if you're a vegetarian, you're just like, I don't eat meat, versus you don't eat meat, die in hell.
Though I'll say,
I mean, you do eat meat, die in hell.
I do agree with the sentiment that bare breast shouldn't be illegal and breastfeeding should be
I also
okay.
agree. If
the
it's
only
weird,
places breastfeeding should not be okay are the same places that eating is not okay.
That's right. But the point, this person, they suggested that she was crazy, at least in the submissions, and it's like, well, she's partially crazy, right?
I think she's a little crazy.
Right, like on the one hand, she's got some good ideas, like she's into free-range kids, and there were some comics there that depicted like a cage around the playground, and she was like, no good, and I was like, yeah, you tell him. And then, but there were some other ones that were, I was like, yeah.
I think part of what makes it odd is that, well, here, I'll read the description that one of the people submitted. Hathor the Cow Goddess features an ultra-liberal, cow-headed, breasted, as you can tell because every other comic features her breasts, woman who does nothing but espouse the benefits of breastfeeding.
That's true.
Home birth.
Yep.
Homeschooling.
Yeah, home birth is not a good idea.
Homeschooling.
Not a good idea.
Unschooling.
Okay.
While mocking such absurd things as science, medical technology, and actual structured education.
Not good.
Now,
it's like one of those people who basically believes, I guess a set of things, some of which are right and some of which are wrong.
No, that's fine. I don't think that
I am personally not going to judge someone's comic based on how much I personally agree or disagree with their things. I'm just going to, but I am going to judge the person based on how crazy they are. Someone could completely agree with me on everything and still be a nut.
So
someone could also
up.
disagree with me on everything and be perfectly sane.
Well, for example, I was at the Jon Stewart rally, and there's this one guy, and we were all talking, and he's like, yeah, and he's making all these good points about the general liberal, intelligent politics that we espouse, and then he looks up and he's like, you see that? That's a chemtrail, and I was like, okay, we're done here. I was like, don't even talk to me, and I gave up on him. So I got to back up here. I think that this comic got trolled almost down. I feel like this woman probably had to put up with a lot of the internet hate machine.
Probably, yes.
Because I go back, ultra-liberal, cow-headed, breasted woman, literally cow-headed. The art is just kind of a normal human mother with this sort of cow mask face.
Yeah, the art is really not so great. It's
not that bad though. It's kind of cute.
It's better than I can draw, and
it's better than some webcomics I have read for a long time.
It's true.
It's consistent.
It doesn't improve that much over time, but it does improve slightly.
True.
My main problem with it was she's very bad with the speech bubbles and putting the words in the right place. And the lettering is just awful.
She obviously has like, oh, this is my idea, and it just kind of shirotasms all over the page.
Yeah, a lot of the comics actually have this problem of awful lettering, right? It's like when you get a Marvel comic or a DC comic, they have, penciler, writer, penciler, colorist, inker, and letterer. And lettering is like the last thing a lot of webcomics care about. Like some of them never even try to improve lettering, if they're just concentrating on arts. They just sort of, make a speech bubble and fill it in. And it's like, yeah, that's a bad idea. Penny Arcade, on the other hand, excellent lettering.
So, I don't know. Offhand, I'm just going to rate him on craziness. This gets 5. I don't know what the scale is, but I'm going to set it at 5.
Yeah, I don't know what the scale is, but I mean, this is definitely, I'm not going to read this. It's a bad webcomic, but I'm not going to make this is not the worst webcomic.
It's it's weird. There's like this line. Like there's this whole scale of webcomics, and then there's this line below which is like the Untouchables.
Yep.
It's well above that. Like below that line is almost undifferentiated from White Noise.
Yep. So Mama is / classic cow goddess.
In fact, you know what I'm going to say right now?
Submitted by Colby and also Fet 101. You did not win.
No,
but
because
at the same time, winning is losing in this contest.
The thing is, this is great in that this is why it can't win. It's weird enough to where anyone who is on the internet should find it and go, what?
Yeah, it's not worth reading every day, obviously, but just go to it once so you know it exists and see what it's about.
So we're not going to talk about every time it got submitted, but Control-Alt-Delete was the next submission.
Gasp.
And
the first person to submit it was no name, no email address.
It got submitted a bunch more times, so Control-Alt-Delete wins the award for...
We're only going to discuss it once right now, but we'll count. We're going to go down the list sequentially of order of submission, so we'll mention every time there's another Control-Alt-Delete submission.
Control-Alt-Delete
and have a final tally at the end.
The award for being Control-Alt-Delete. I don't know
right.
what I can say. I hadn't actually really read it until it got submitted in our contest. Like, I'd always kind of ignored it.
I knew it existed, obviously, for a long time. And I had seen the guy who made it at conventions, and I heard many stories about him of various vagueness and, things. And I knew that he was sort of crazy and weird. Actually reading his comic, for comics that were incredibly long, I just sort of read like the earliest comics, some random ones in the middle, and then the latest comics.
Yep.
What was interesting about this is the art progressed, but it didn't progress that much considering the age of it, right? It's like there was a significant improvement, but considering the time period, the improvement was not congruent with the time period.
Well, Scott, I'm looking
it
at
should have improved much, much more.
Like I hit a random comic here, and it's from 2005.
Right.
And it looks kind of like Penny Arcade from a similar
Well,
era.
that's something else I was going to say, right? Is that a lot of the jokes, like I picked a bunch of random comics in the middle, almost all of them were appeared to be stealing or, leaning on jokes from other things. Like he was just retelling jokes that belonged to other people. Now, maybe he invented those jokes and I read the retelling somewhere else. It's definitely possible. But for there to be so many of them, right? It's like, how come this, either everyone is stealing this guy's jokes or this guy is stealing everyone's jokes, which is more likely, right? So it seemed like he wasn't even really writing it. He was just finding the joke on the internet of the day and making a comic that says the same exact joke of what he found.
Well, it felt more like it was, I don't want to say it was stealing from Penny Arcade specifically, but it was...
There were some, I do remember one or two instances of Penny Arcade stealing specifically.
It was just a lot of the same kind of humor, but done in 4 frames instead of 3.
Yeah.
Which, that's, we have some old comics we could talk about, but they weren't submitted, so we won't.
Yeah.
Where we had basically the comic would be hilarious, and then one of the co-creators would always add like one extra panel that ruined it.
Yeah. So... what else about Control-Delete? It's not actually funny.
Oh my God, I've clicked on Scott, I've clicked on 3 random ones in a row, and they're lit like the exact same joke as a Penny Arcade from a similar time.
That's what I was saying.
I know, but I'm just literally like clicking random here.
I know, that's what I did too.
I know. I don't want to say Control-Delete didn't win yet because the comic itself is not that bad. It's just kind of really mediocre and just goes on for a long time. But the author is kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, if you believe the stories about the guy.
There's too many of them for me to discount all of them from so many different sources.
No, I don't discount them. I know he's crazy, but I'm trying to judge the comics. I mean, I am taking craziness into account, no doubt. But I am trying to judge the comics more than the craziness.
Yeah, but if you multiply comic badness by, say, 10 and craziness by 0.05, still a closely run affair.
I don't know. I think he's pretty much equally crazy to the Cow Goddess Lady. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, the Cow Goddess Lady feels a lot more benign.
That's true.
Like I feel like if you criticized her response would be, I do what I do for the people who like it.
Yep.
And I feel like Tim Buckley would spittle on me.
Yeah, he just... he definitely seems like there's a lot of drama going on.
Maybe he's an Andy Kaufman, but I don't know. There's just... Especially because I talk to a lot of people who know him more directly.
If he was an Andy Kaufman, then he should win Best Webcomic.
Yes, absolutely. The thing is, people talk about that plot twist that I actually didn't read that part and didn't find it randomly and didn't bother to take the time to find it.
Yeah, that is something. Is if people who submitted comics that were very long, just due to the nature of them and the nature of this contest, I could judge all the parts of the comic with my method of beginning, middle, end, but I couldn't judge the long-term plot. That's just impossible for me to look at. So if, I know Control-Delete does have sort of this long-term plot, but I couldn't really bring that into account in my subjective decision-making because I had no way to experience it properly. Even I could read a summary Cliff's Notes of it, but that doesn't do anything for you. But I did notice that pretty much the newest comics and the oldest comics, it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of progression. It seems like it's, you could read the first few comics to introduce yourself to the characters and then start reading the new ones and skip the whole middle and you wouldn't be too lost.
It's just like the Cow Goddess one, if I say, hey, check this out, people will go, whoa, and remember it. If I tell someone random just to read Control-Delete, they'll probably just kind of stop reading it and forget about it.
Yeah, I think so.
So
maybe if you've never read webcomics before and you come across this, you haven't heard these jokes before elsewhere, then it might work on you if you're, because a lot of people like a lot of crap.
But seriously, dude who submitted it, you did not need to check Fap Comic that tries to pretend it isn't.
Okay. Next choice. I actually.
Oh, this one wins. Fuck this comic. It's terrible.
I read this entire comic as it was coming out right up to the end.
And even from the beginning, at RIT, Scott and I barely fucking knew each other. And he's like, we're really getting into webcomics because that's when they were like really exploding with Mega Tokyo and then Penny Arcade and everything. And Scott's the only one in the crew who liked Bob and George. I guess Greg liked it too.
I don't know. I like Bob and George.
And to this day, none of us can understand why. I just didn't. Wasn't funny.
So here's the deal with this comic.
Wasn't funny.
This guy originally wanted to draw webcomics. He started out drawing a webcomic about Bob and George, and he had the worst arts in the universe because he was just starting, but he was so bad, his room for improvement, if he would have kept it up for a long time, would have been vast, right? He started with like barely stick figures.
That's my new favorite insult. Given time, your capability for improvement is vast.
That's right. But he quickly gave up on that and went into sprite comic territory, and he was pretty much the first and premier sprite comic to go into the Mega Man zone, right? I mean, 8-Bit Theater is pretty much the only good sprite comic, I'm guessing.
I'll stand by that.
Yeah, but,
Well, 8-Bit Theater, it amazes me how well he integrated those little sprites into personalities that to this day
as strong as ponies.
I see a Black Mage, and that character there is no way to dissociate that character.
Exactly. So, so Bob and George, he did it with Mega Man, and he started by progressing through the Mega Man games, 1, 2, 3, right? And he had some funny jokes in there. My favorite of which I still remember, is Flashman. And he's like, Flashman, what do you do? And he's like, no, because he's gonna flash him with like, a trench coat.
So, I don't know. I never found any of the jokes funny.
I thought that was funny. Anyway, I like Mega Man a lot.
It was just, yeah, but that does not a good webcomic make.
It's better than the other previous
Name
two.
another funny one other than the Flashman one.
There were ones that were funny because I kept reading it and I laughed occasionally, but I can't remember what they were because it was a zillion years ago. The thing is, after he sort of finishes up with the Mega Man games...
Okay, this one's okay, kind of funny.
Okay. He goes on sort of a crazy plot, like involving Bob and George and all these other characters, and it's sort of incomprehensible, and there's some like self-insertion.
The problem with many webcomics, many of which were not entered, so I will not talk about them, where you have a funny comic, and then you try to get all plotty, and instead of making a new comic for that plot with characters for that plot, you just keep making the same fucking comic forever and try to mash all your plots onto it.
Right. But eventually he did end the comic at some point.
It did end.
It did end. And he sort of weirdly brought the original fact that he was, the true origin was he was trying to draw and he failed and switched to sprites, but he managed to tie that back in somehow. It's relatively incomprehensible. I wouldn't actually suggest anyone read it. But, it's not the worst. It's far from the worst. It's better than Control-Delete. It's better than... So any of the ones so far it's the least bad of our 3 comics that we've gone over.
Yeah, but I must say, and I cannot stress this enough, it has never made me actually laugh.
All right.
I read a whole bunch of it a long time ago because Scott just wouldn't fucking shut up about it.
I don't remember not shutting up about it. I just remember you saying
because you'd always be like, hey, Rim, Flashman. I'd be like, I'm not going to read Bob and George. And you're like, you got to read Bob and George. It's great.
All right.
In fact, we've had the same conversation many times for the past decade.
Anyway,
I don't like Bob and George.
It's not the worst. There's 10 billion webcomics out there just as good as it, with the same, Mary Sue kind of, sprite fan of something stuff. And, this one actually has a little bit of funniness to it, which puts it above those. And, I'm not saying it's Penny Arcade or anything.
All right, so someone submitted a comic that I'd never heard of called The Freckled Finger.
Right, so I took a look at this one.
I want to read the submission.
Okay.
The artist clearly puts a lot of work into this comic. What sort of makes the fact that it is unbelievably offensive even worse. The guy is clearly trolling. However, the racism, sexism, and general horribleness does not at all feel like the sort of parody racism that people trying to be edgy, etc., etc. It wasn't as offensive as I expected it to be, but then again, I've seen some pretty offensive things in my time.
Yeah, I mean, some of these comics, right? First of all, the art's actually kind of good, right? It's not. This didn't, have awful art like all
some
the other
of them
ones.
are funny in the same way that some of the Parking Lot is Full comics were funny.
Exactly.
They weren't all that offensive.
Yep. For example, there was one that's like, how does a sadomasochist propose to a cutter? And it's like, you see this guy with all these tattoos proposing to some girl, and then he takes like a razor blade and cuts her finger. It's like, okay, I'm not laughing out loud at that, but it's like, this guy's he comes up with an original sort of clever idea each time, and it's like you can see what he was going for even if it didn't work out. It's like he's trying. He's got some sort of spark, he just doesn't have any fire.
Yeah, well, the other thing is I feel like he too often did fall back on, I'll just do something really offensive.
Exactly.
And that's where edgy comedy fails, when you do it.
You
and
can't.
It is just offensive, but there's no like cleverness. For example, the NSMB is offensive, but it's just clever enough to where you can laugh at it.
Right. So like look at, for example, Penny Arcade or South Park, right? Are offensive. But they're not primarily trying to be offensive. The offensiveness is the side effect of the original joke that they are telling, right? It's just they don't hold back, so they end up being offensive, right? With a Dick Wolf or some such. Whereas if you aim for offensiveness first, then you have no joke. You're just being extreme and out there with nothing to go by. But yeah, the art on this is actually pretty good, and he has a bunch of different styles. He does a Calvin and Hobbes one at one point.
I was looking at that one right now. It's actually kind of funny.
Right. So this is actually, I don't know if I'd read this just because it's not funny, but, this is actually well above average in the webcomics world if you take every webcomic that ever existed into account.
Yeah.
The person who submitted this, named Derek, I guess just really didn't like it or was really offended by it.
Yeah, I mean, it is offensive. Don't
well,
get me
he says,
wrong.
well, he's in the submission. He said the guy was trolling.
No, I don't take that.
I don't think
as an
he's
excuse.
I don't think he's trolling.
I think he's just trying to be funny.
He's just trying to be funny by being offensive.
But seriously, if you want an offensive webcomic, you should read The Parking Lot is Full.
That's right.
And or The Thin H Line,
Yeah.
which was renamed Sexy Losers later.
Say a freckled finger, not the worst webcomic.
Okay. Sarah Zero. I didn't read this one. I must have missed it by
You didn't
accident.
read this one?
No,
Okay.
I
So
missed
Sarah
it.
Zero is less of a webcomic and more of like an illustrated sort of action sci-fi thing, right? And it's like each comic, it's got this fancy kind of website that's also sort of hard to navigate.
Oh, yeah, I'm going through it now.
Yeah, the lettering is actually great. It's like, I was just complaining about lettering on the other comic. The lettering on this is like most of what it has going for it. Like if you go to like a few comics back from the newest one, like someone's like whacking someone on the side of the head, and then it's like snowplow, and it's like there's a bullet, and then the word snowplow is behind it with all the blood coming out of the person's head. I mean, it's it's an action sci-fi kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of comics. Here's one where there's a car that's pretty well rendered driving down the road with an explosion behind it, and on the front of the car is a plow, and on the plow in reverse it says slow traffic, keep right. It's like
It's fairly incomprehensible, but
yeah, that's the problem with it, is that you cannot, even if you start at the beginning and read it one at a time, it's more of a well-lettered, illustrated thing than a comic, I guess.
But
you can't figure out what's going on at all. It's like, who are these characters? What are they doing?
Interesting enough. The person's trying to do something neat.
Yeah.
I can't say it's bad because it's art.
It's far from bad.
I, again, wouldn't read it because I can't tell what's going on.
Yeah, it's like you can't care about it. It's just you can look at a single strip or panel and just be like, ooh, I see what you did there with that lettering around the shape of the person's face. It's like, oh. But there's no reason to read it because you can't tell what the fuck is going on.
But then again, there was no reason to read Trigun for the same reason.
That's correct. Yeah, so actually, I'd say this is about equal to Trigun manga,
Yeah.
which is very far away from the worst webcomic ever. But still, Trigun manga is not good. Don't read it.
Okay, so here's where we get on the rabbit. Oh God, it updated. There's some furry sex.
Kitten K Boodle.
So I had heard of Kitten K Boodle many times.
Do you know we met the guy who makes this, right?
Did we?
At Kineticon.
Oh shit.
We were at Kineticon, sitting there it was an early Kineticon, maybe the first or second one we were at. We were sitting around talking. This fat, smelly guy who had mad BO wanted to show us his arts, and it was this comic. And then when I saw this comic, I was like, oh, I've seen this before. It's that guy who showed me all his furry porn that he draws at Kineticon.
Yeah, you don't have to shoot it at me in reference to semen from. Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
Here, I want to read the submission here because it does literally explain exactly what we're talking about.
All right.
This comic is famous among furries.
Yep.
So there's these two furry characters, Kit and Kay Boodle, married couple. They move to a town called Yifburg,
Yep.
which indicates strongly which direction this is going. They find they have a massive crop of boink berries, a berry that keeps one's Yif drive in tip-top shape and acts as a contraceptive.
Nice. Let's move there.
They decide
Except only people are allowed, no animals.
I don't know, cat girls are cool. Maybe a fox girl. I could live with that.
It's all you.
There is nothing wrong with anthropomorphic art or any of that stuff. When I say furry, I'm going to say this right now. I mean people on the internet who like anthropomorphic art and have a persecution complex.
Yeah, I mean, Goofy was anthropomorphic art, but that was a thing of the day.
Yeah? It's just if you have a chip on your shoulder about
Is Goofy
your
a furry?
anthropomorphic art,
No. Is
you're
Mickey
a
Mouse
furry.
furry? No.
It requires the chip on the shoulder. It has to be the biggest chip ever.
Is Bugs Bunny furry?
Well, anyway.
Roger Rabbit furry?
So, yeah, it's just them having sex and this weird, like, government, I guess, trying to stop people from having sex. To quote the last sentence in the review, it's just like the most bizarre author track you've ever read. Like a Jack Chick tract for furry comics.
Now, for example, in the earliest part of the comic, it's that, Kit and K-Boodle get stuck in a hole in the ground, literally, like a rabbit hole. They can't get out. And, they do it, and then their explosion from doing it causes them to be shot out of the hole, or at least it causes Kay to be shot out of the hole, and I guess she saves Kit with a rope or whatever later.
Yep.
But yeah, basically the art on this actually is not bad, except for the fact that it's what is drawings of. But if the guy draws,
I've been going back. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I've been backtracking, and I finally found one that did not have semen in it.
There you go. Good. But yeah, the art, he's actually good at arts, kind of. It's pretty typical, like newspaper quality, anthropomorphic arts. It just happens to be art of animal people having sex and doing all sorts of nasty shit. Other than that, it's good arts. If he drew a non-furry comic, it probably would be pretty well done. If someone else wrote it.
Actually, I would argue that his earlier, sketchier art looks better than the later color art.
Well, yeah, he definitely has a different style. It's not really a matter of him, I don't know. But the guy can draw, regardless.
Yeah.
A lot better than most people.
But it's not, for what it is, it's not a bad comic. Because remember the category I said very specifically was fap comic that tries to pretend it isn't. This is a fap comic that does not make any bones about the fact that it's
exactly
about
right.
boning.
Like, even though it's furry and it's not my thing and it's not most people's thing, right? He's not even, like, trying to be shy about it. This guy is just like, fucking animals fucking, hell yeah, this turns me on. It's awesome. And I'm like, more power to you, man.
It's almost as though he's not a furry because you have to have that chip on your shoulder or you don't count.
Yeah, this guy has no chip. He's just like animals with dicks fucking. Let's get it on.
Granted,
Semen everywhere.
The comic itself has some of that persecution plot in it.
That's true.
And I don't know if that bleeds over into his real life.
But it's like, he doesn't, like, isn't the very first comic, like, he just sex all over the place and he's like, here's what you're in for. Just so you know.
So this is definitely not the worst webcomic.
And and while the guy, when I met him, was, had bad BO and was fat, he wasn't actually, like, offensive personality-wise, except for the fact that he's like, hey, check out my furry porn.
You know what? I'd rather hang out with...
But at least he wasn't ashamed of, like, here, check out my furry porn.
I'm much happier hanging out with Mr. Hey, look at my furry porn than, hey, check out my embowelment or disembowelment hentai guy at RIT.
Yeah. So, Kit and K-Boodle, I'm not reading it. If you're not a furry, you shouldn't read it. But actually, if you're a furry, this is probably the best webcomic in the world for you. Right? I mean, come on.
So, The Watch, which I already knew about, because it's kind of famous for being a poster child of Mary Sue's.
Is it now?
Yeah.
I can't...
There's a whole TV tropes page at one. I don't know if it's still there on this comic. In fact, I believe they have a syndrome like the Watch syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of got a... I don't know. This is the archetypical fap comic that tries to pretend it isn't.
Is The Watch really that... I never heard of it before, ever.
It's famous among people who care about drama on the internet.
Oh, okay.
I'll find the TV tropes page. You can start talking about your review, since I knew a little bit more about it than you did.
Well, I mean, first of all, the art starts out as like, the first comics look basically about the same as the first Penny Arcades, maybe a little bit worse. The newest ones look only slightly better. Like, the level of improvement was not much at all, really. You could have improved a lot more there. The other thing is that it's like I read like the first few strips and it's like, how the hell does this get to be where it is in the newest ones? It's like I'd had to do a whole lot of reading to figure out what the hell's going on here, and I am not doing that at all.
Apparently there are spin-offs of The Watch.
Really?
So here's the deal. One, it's basically a comic for people who have certain oddly specific fetishes and want something to titillate them, I'm pretty sure, based on the way people talk about it and the content.
But it's like I looked at a bunch of strips and I couldn't find anything that was, fatfish or weird like that.
Well, because it's not, you realize there's a whole community of people on the internet who are really into this sort of gender transformation-y stuff.
I did see some of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Maybe we read different parts of this comic.
Maybe. But it's like, it mostly just looked like, pretty average webcomic. Like, okay, there's like a magical girl and there's some,
But think about the plot.
She's in high
basically,
school.
The main character girl is basically better than everyone else, more powerful than everyone else, fixes everything no matter what. Everyone else is kind of pointless.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's,
It reeks of Mary Sue.
Yeah, it's not well plotted or structured or anything like that, but it's just... It's not like painfully awful, like, oh god, this is the worst thing I've ever read.
Well, here, I'll read the description again.
I think what
from
happened
the
is that a lot of people coming to these comics, right, is they brought in like the community or the meta around the comics, and they because they know about the comics.
True. For example,
that's why they submit them. But me, I'm coming to this, never even heard of this before.
So here's a good example.
So I don't get any of that.
Say, there is pornography of Pokemon out there.
It's true.
But you can't say that makes Pokemon bad.
Right. It's
that
like
people are turned on by Pikachu.
Exactly. It's like if there's a world of Pokemon stuff. So if you ask me about Pokemon, there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes to mind, like the third movie, for instance. But if you just give someone the first Pokemon game and play that, and that's all they know of Pokemon is what's actually in that game, their judgment is going to be completely different from, say, someone who reads the forums of the Watch or knows the history of the Watch or the person who writes and draws the Watch.
Yep. For example, I, for a long time, read a comic called College Roomies from Hell, and it's one of these kind of general mediocre
Talk
comics.
about art doesn't improve forever.
It actually does. It looks way better than it used to.
Barely.
Yeah, a lot better.
Maybe about the same as the Watch.
The submission I present to you. Quote, I present to thee The Watch, a comic with so much potential that it's squandering of its legacy. I present to thee a comic...
That its squandering of it is legendary.
Oh, yeah. I present to thee a comic that barely improved its art despite existing for as long as it has, despite the artist working alongside someone whose art is identical to her, only with actual effort. A comic that has much body horror, an explanation of what body horror is, horrifying, fascinating. No, it's fat material.
Mm-hmm.
At least according to the submitter.
Yeah, in what I read, I couldn't find any fat material.
Maybe it's because I read the descriptions of every submission before I actually read the comics. So, the submission talks a lot about why it's fat material for this stuff. So I found a lot of stuff on the internet about body horror fetishism.
Okay.
People who like the idea of being turned to stone. Like, they'll probably watch My Little Pony when the cockatrice gets Fluttershy, and aw shit, son.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right.
So it is possible that this comic is catering to that demographic.
Possible. That's fine.
Yeah. But it's not the worst webcomic.
I'm not judging you on your demographic.
No.
Right? I mean,
even if someone actually tries to cater to that demographic?
I mean, look, am I going to say that Penny Arcade is good because it caters to people like us and it's bad because it doesn't cater to little kids? No, right? Am I going to say that Gronk by Katie Cook, which is awesome, by the way, is bad because it caters to little kids and doesn't cater to me? No. So, what does it matter if it caters to a sexual deviancy as opposed to an age group?
We just spent more minutes than I ever thought I would in my life defending furry porn.
Yeah.
So, but to read the end here, because I was talking about the Mary Sue stuff, our titular watch named Annie Onimus is a person who can do no wrong, and if she does do wrong, it's waved away and she suffers no consequences.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like he's complaining about the long-term plot, which I do agree should be part of the determination of the worst webcomic if the comic has a long-term plot. But it can't be reasonably expected for anyone to judge it if they haven't read the whole thing.
Yeah, every random page I read was someone being turned into something and some kind of episodic humor.
There was a
about
whole
that.
There was a whole chapter about like clones doing something that was weird.
Doing something, eh?
Yeah.
Hey.
Anyway. So yeah, The Watch, just another mediocre webcomic, really. I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah, it doesn't delve into the realm of worst.
Okay.
Control-Alt-Delete.
All right. Control-Delete. Oh no, you skipped over Electric Retard.
Oh.
Yeah, so Electric Retard looks like it was drawn with the MS Paint, and I think it was. But this is basically another one of those try to be offensive on purpose with MS Paint. Right? Sort of the same way the other one was, only the art in this is much worse. But while the art is worse, the design is actually better. It's like his whole site is drawn with MS Paint in the same sort of almost crayon MS Paint style. The comic, everything. So while it's bad...
He's got his own MS Paint ad with Adolf Hitler on it.
Yeah.
So you know what you're getting into.
And...
it's pretty bad, though.
It is pretty bad. And it's pretty much like... like the offensiveness, like the other one was like trying to make a joke with the offensiveness.
This one's just offensive.
This one is pretty much just show you something extreme with no joke. Like the second comic, is it the second one? Yeah, the second comic and the whole thing. There's only like a 40 or something of them. You can read them all. The second one was called Firstborn Son, and it's like a mom in the hospital with the baby and the dad. And the dad's like, wow, my firstborn son. Can I hold him, honey? Here you go. So then... some criminal shows up. He's with a jail, black and white striped jailbird shirt. He grabs the dad. The baby falls on the floor with its head bleeding. The dude drives a wood chipper into the room. He friggin' and then he jerks off while the dad is going through the wood chipper. It's like,
dude.
And then that's it.
I mean, the parking lot is full was clever in its horrifyingness. This is just,
The
worst one is titled Pimp.
Which number is that?
40.
40?
So here's the plot. There is a black man who is in fact a pimp, a pretty styling pimp. He's walking.
I see him.
Another black man appears with
he
a gun.
Is strutting.
With a gun, and the pimp man raises his fist and says pimp style and transforms into Pimp Man.
Nice.
Bullets do not hurt him. He stops this bad guy. A white man sees him and says the words brown up. Turns into Clan Man. They have a fight that involves a whip and a gigantic black man's penis being wielded like a urine-spewing whip, and it ends with him being lynched. Great. That was a joke. That was fantastic.
I know, he's not lynched. He was burned on a cross.
Oh, yeah. I guess he's crucified and then
set on
burned.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just offensive.
Like at no point is there a punchline. It's just horrible.
Yep. It's pretty bad. This is maybe the worst yet-ish.
Yeah. I think this so far is the worst comic we've actually talked about because it has no redeeming qualities.
No improvement. The only good thing about it is the design, the graphic design as a whole, the unification of the site and the comic is the only good thing going for it.
So his FAQ is basically like, I'm banned in Germany, which is probably true.
Yes.
You can't contact me. There's no contact info. I draw it all myself.
Okay.
You can't take me down. People try all the time.
All right.
So I would imagine the sole purpose of this comic is to instill outrage and then enjoy said outrage.
If this guy is trolling, then he's the best webcomic ever.
No, because he doesn't. Most people would avoid it. The fact that I did not know about it.
That is a significant redemption if he's trolling.
The fact that I did not know about it until it was submitted to us means that he's failing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you want offensive comics, read The Parking Lot is Full.
That's true. All right.
So
we'll
Control Alt Delete.
We already mentioned that. That's
Yep.
So don't add an extra one. We reround a bit. Okay. What's this one? Oh,
So You're
a
a
cartoonist. Oh boy. I don't even remember this one. I gotta load it up.
It's got good art. Like, it's okay art.
I'm waiting for it to load.
I don't remember this one either, actually.
No, I just don't remember it by name. I definitely remember reading it because I remember one that was called "So You're a Cartoonist."
Yep. I mean, the art's pretty good.
Oh, this one, right? Yeah, this one. This one's okay.
I didn't have anything like terrible to say about it.
Yeah, the only thing about this one is that there was no funniness. It's like it wasn't a joke. I didn't laugh at any of them.
It's almost more like pages from a book that itself is a single comic, as opposed to a webcomic. Like each individual page doesn't really do much for you on its own.
It's almost like someone who was in art school and had like an assignment to draw a webcomic, and they had to keep drawing the webcomic as long as they were in school. That was their like job, like they had to do it. And they weren't very good at writing or telling jokes. But, their art is actually, it's art. It's way better than a lot of 90% of the other ones that were submitted. Yeah,
it's nowhere near the worst webcomic.
Not even remotely close to the worst webcomic. What did the submissions say? Why did they say it was the worst? Let's see. Tom Preston is a terrible writer whose every comic is tearing down... it's the raw... Yes, tearing down strawmen.
That I didn't get because...
I didn't get that.
Of all the random strips I read, I didn't see a straw man. I'm going to try to look for a straw man while you read the rest of that.
Yeah, so You're a Cartoonist is basically a compilation of every misused Garfield punchline, every one. His best comic couldn't be as good as all of Jim Davis' worst comics. Actually, the art is better than the more recent digital Garfields. I like the older Garfield art a lot better. And it's about equal in funniness to Garfield, which is not funny at all. Maybe if we did So You're a Cartoonist minus something, it would be hilarious. Let's see. Here's one that might be tearing down strawmen. Things that make me want to head desk.
I was just looking at that one.
Confusing the word animation, confusing Disney with other companies. The anti-pony mentality. When was this done? Was this done in the Pony Times? What's the date on this comic?
I don't know.
Yeah, MLP Fim. He's a pony guy. This is a recent comic.
Anyone who likes ponies can't be bad.
That's right. It's automatically not the worst comic because the guy likes ponies. Okay, boys. I don't see what's wrong with this. He's got a troll in the last panel.
Yeah, but I didn't find anything offensive to my sensibilities in this comic.
I did not either. I don't know. I think that a lot of people submitted comics that were just personally offensive to them, right? Like, someone submitted furries because they are really, can't.
I think they submitted furries because they just wanted to force us to read furry
That
porn.
also, but someone submitted, Mama Is because Mama Is way crazy lefty, and they're probably somewhat righty.
Or it's just because it's so crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad it was submitted because I never would have seen that otherwise.
Me either. I'm not glad anything was submitted.
Yeah.
But, I think a lot of people submitted things that were just personally offensive to them and their own sensibilities, and therefore judged it as the worst webcomic, as opposed to judging it as a webcomic.
You know what? Here's a random funny one.
With more impartial criteria.
Two people are at a convention, and one of the older guys like, excuse me a moment, hot chick at 3 o'clock. He disappears. He comes back disturbed, and the main character says, I didn't know you had a thing for Sephiroth. And the old guy's like, I don't even know what that is.
That's not bad.
So this is far from a terrible comic.
Yeah, I'm not going to read it, but it's not bad.
I mean, put this side by side with Electric Retard and...
Yeah, right? Yeah, Electric Retard's currently winning. All right, the next one. This actually, of all the ones that were submitted, I actually like this one the most.
It's actually kind of cute and funny.
Yeah, the Modest Medusa. So basically the story is, there's a dude. He lives in a house, right? And the beginning art, awful, and the more recent art, significantly improved from the oldest art in this comic.
I would not call the beginning art awful.
It's pretty bad.
You've seen Electric Retard.
I'm just saying. But the dude basically just comes home and finds his little cute Medusa girl in his closet. And it's kind of cute and funny. It's like cute Medusa girl, yay!
Yep.
And I love it when her snakes eat things.
Yep.
And she's like trying to eat something, and she always wants to eat with the Choco something.
Yep, and the snakes like steal it from her.
She wants to eat Chocodiles, and then the snakes on her head eat the Chocodile, and then she cries.
So let's see, why was this submitted?
I mean, it is Moe, pure straight up.
It is Moe, but
so
let's read the quote. It seems an almost cute fantasy comic in the guy gets saddled with a kid vein. until you realize the cute monster is his fat fantasy, and the first thing he does is pee on her.
So I reading that, I had to go forward to find, I read until I got to the comic.
Yeah, I was
where
reading
he
the
peed on
whole
her.
comic thinking, when does this turn into child porn?
Basically, she's in the toilet because it's water in there, and she's a snake. And then he goes to the bathroom, not realizing she's in there, and it's not porny in any way. Now, this might be, right? One of those ones where,
Fap comic that pretends it's not.
Exactly.
Or, yeah.
Right? But the thing is, it's done in the same way as an Azumanga Daioh or a Yotsuba or a pre-time skip, bunny drop, right? To where there are many redeeming qualities, right? Even though it is cute with a little Medusa girl. And the fapness will not enter into it. Compared to, say, a Chubra or a Kiss Exes or many other things, even a Love Hina, to where that there is sort of this implied, porniness that they're sort of hiding, sort of not. It's like, it's not even implied. It's only added in the minds of the reader 100%, right? Maybe also the writer, but it's not in the comic, is my point.
It's just, I don't know. It's not the worst comic.
I actually kind of want to read it because it's cute.
It is cute.
It's very cute.
So I guess I can see why someone might say fap comic. I'm kind of saddened how much. Why is I just noticed the previous Control-Delete submission also says fap comic that pretends it isn't.
Right. I don't know. No one's fapping a Control-Delete, I'll tell you that much.
All right, so let's talk about the next one because
someone tried to be a jerk.
But this guy's wrong, and I can argue it pretty succinctly.
I'll let you handle this then.
So I'm going to read his whole submission because he's impinging upon XKCD. And I feel like his criticisms are actually objectively wrong.
Well, so far he submitted the best comic yet.
Yes. In fact, one of my top 10 webcomics anyway.
Yeah.
I know XKCD is a favorite of Scrim's. But
good job. Then why are you trying to... You're not going to win the contest with this.
You got balls, kid. I'll give you that.
Ben.
But I'm going to buck the trend here. XKCD is a lackluster, try-hard comic that panders to the pseudo-nerdy demographic by playing on entry-level science jokes that anyone with a high school education could get.
Right,
the author writes the comics in such a fashion that readers with even a basic grasp of mathematics can pat themselves on the back, link them to friends, and pretend they are intelligent. In short, the math and science humor is shallow and pretentious. There's more, but I don't know why you would say that humor is shallow and pretentious just because it's presented in an accessible fashion.
Also, while the math and science in XKCD is presentable and comprehensible by nerds such as us, you have a great overestimation of the science and math knowledge of anyone who's graduated from high school, at least in the United States. Most people would not understand even the simplest of pie jokes in XKCD.
Never mind the fact that
you do not yet know. This submitter clearly does not yet know how stupid the world is. And you are lucky, my good sir.
Never
Keep
mind
your naivete.
the fact that the comic, XKCD does a really good job, I think, of making some very difficult to understand concepts very accessible to people. I mean, half the time, what's his comic? It's a really interesting infographic that is pretty well researched.
Yeah, and it takes, while it sticks in lines most of the time, he actually gets more expression out of those stick figures than half these comics we've gone over get out of full color everything.
Oh, let's go on because he continues his rant.
Okay.
There is no significant improvement in the art style in the many years XKCD has been running.
Not
it goes
true.
from stick figures to stick figures. Now, you know what, dude? That's wrong. Look at the early comics. They're really poorly drawn stick figures.
They're much better drawn now. Not to mention some of the comics where it isn't just sticks. There are quite a few where there will be, sort of like backgrounds. There was a few night comics with a starry sky that were quite much more than just sticks.
But
and
the
also
art has
the
improved.
infographics, especially, he definitely goes all out with clever constructions of the information design, let alone the art itself.
The art has improved markedly, and if you can't see that because you're looking at the surface level of saying it's still a stick figure, then you shouldn't read Order of the Stick either.
That's right.
Because Order of the Stick, same deal. The character designs are very simple. And you look at it, now and say, wow, that hasn't progressed. Then you look at the first comic and realize how far it's come and how subtle improvements make these very simple characters very expressive.
Yep.
These are some of the most expressive stick figures I've ever seen. XKCD is one of my favorite and most heartwarming comics. And I think your criticism of the art and the accessibility is very misplaced.
Yep. So the last thing he says is that he's hope he's made a decent case showing why it's his least favorite. Your case was not decent. Not even halfway decent.
You can say that it's your least favorite.
Yeah, but
it's not bad.
He said he hoped he made a decent case, and no, he did not.
Well, no, he made a decent case as to why he doesn't like it, because many people will look at simple art and the triggers like this logic in the brain of this is simple art, therefore it is bad or has not improved from some earlier state, as opposed to looking at the simple art and saying, wow, this is very elegantly designed simple art.
Mm-hmm. All right, so somebody thought they'd be funny and submitted a worst webcomic called Worst Webcomic. It's even at worstwebcomic.com. So you'd think that this would just win, straight up. But actually, no. It's really, it's another one of those ones where it's like, why does this guy think it's the worst? Because, it's not funny at all. I did not laugh at a single one of these. And he tends to use this trick where he takes some existing graphic and puts some words on it. Like, he does some Cookie Monster. He does some, the two most recent ones, he's got a Cookie Monster who's depressed with a psychiatrist. And he's got a Tootsie Roll Pop, Ask Mr. Owl, but it's a dolphin, and the dolphin's a dick. But none of the comics are actually funny.
Some of them are okay. They're not.
I didn't even so much as like smile or chuckle or even feel an internal laugh.
Okay, here's one. A guy's asking a chemist or something, so what happens to all the used chemicals from the lab? And the chemist is like, well, it's actually a very complicated process. First, you have to classify the chemicals in terms of acidity, composition, reaction with other chemicals, flammability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have to determine the organization. And the guy interrupts. He's like, you just throw them all away, don't you? He's like, between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Yes.
Well, here, look at this one. It's like, you seen the latest episode of Teen Mom? No, me either. It's like, what? It's not even...
He's clearly making fun of the fact that Teen Mom is not a liked or known show.
Yeah, your webcomic is not liked or known either. I'll put this, this isn't the worst, but there's really nothing...
It's not that
there's
bad.
There's nothing good about it.
It's immemorable.
Yeah, it's as blah can be, I think. I don't know. I really just don't have so much to say about it. It's so blah.
Well, the thing is, here's why I'm saying it's blah, dude. I'm going to let you in a little secret. The guy who submitted it, never mind.
Never mind.
I got nothing.
We're just going to skip that one because it's so blah. It has nothing to go on.
I got nothing to say about it.
The next one, I liked a lot, actually. I liked it just about as much as I liked
this one. I actually did like this one, too, just because the art is actually really funny.
It's Savage Chickens, and it's Post-it notes, but not always a single Post-it note. It's, it's like sometimes it's basically yellow background, really. Sometimes it's more than one Post-it note long, and is cute chickens with sort of Far Side-ish jokes, right? Like endangered species that nobody cares about. The crinkly bag at the movies tiger. Right?
Once upon the abruptly ending story.
Right? I feel like everyone wants a piece of me, and it's a pie that's talking.
I don't know. This is far from the worst webcomic. It's actually pretty okay.
I think it's cute. I might actually read it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What do you say? He's basically the guy submitted it says it isn't funny. Let me make sure he didn't say it was a FAP comic. I feel like that. Okay, he did not say it was a FAP comic.
He said that bad art tries to be funny and fails, never improves or get better as time goes on. That is true, is that it's basically the same for its whole length, and it is quite long. Pretty simple idea. Trot chickens on Post-it notes, hilarity ensues. Unfortunately, there appears to be a step missing at humor.
So,
I think it was funny, kind of.
I think we might have a winner.
It's about as funny as every newspaper strip that's in the newspaper today.
It is funnier than any newspaper strip that is in the newspaper today.
This might actually be in some newspapers. Who knows?
Actually, you know what? It should be in some newspapers. About
Probably.
that level. So here we come to something that stands out. This is a cut above the rest.
This is definitely the worst so far of what we have gone through. It may hold out till the end and be the worst webcomic.
To quote the entry, this is a man who has been so broken as to the point where he thinks that an abhorrent act of racism and anti-Semitism is liberal. What were the categories, the aspects of worstness? Bad art, bad writing, racist, sexist, tries to be funny and fails, never gets better, the author is crazy.
It has all of those.
It's called Billy the Heretic. I don't even know where to begin. The website looks like those kinds of websites, where Jack Chick style craziness appears.
Right. You know how some people are racist, but they're not just overtly racist, right? They're not just like, kill all Jews, right? This guy is like, kill all Jews, straight up. Like, he's not even trying. He's like, He thinks it's just okay.
Well, here, I'll read a comic. Billy the Heretic. There's a plane that's flying, and the father is like, "Happy birthday, son. For your surprise, just tell the captain anywhere in the world you want to go." So he says to the captain, quote, "Captain, please land in the nearest black city that is generally safe, clean. Any country is fine." And there's nowhere for the plane to land. That's the joke.
Yeah.
That is probably one of the least offensive.
Yeah, let me pick another one.
Oh,
here.
the Anne Frank ones are pretty bad. I don't think he believes that the Holocaust happened.
Probably not. Let's see. Anne Frank was a Jewish girl who was gassed to death in a death camp called Auschwitz. Miss Tell Eli, didn't Anne Frank leave Auschwitz alive? Well, the evil Nazis took her somewhere and gassed her to death. Then please instruct the class as to how she died of typhus during a typhus epidemic that killed thousands of other innocent Germans. Great, even if it didn't happen, gassing Jews is hate. Hate. Do you hear me? It is hate, hate, hate. Isn't it true that you...
And it isn't true.
That you hate, and I mean really hate?
He seems to be against interracial marriage, against black people,
right?
Against women, against Jews, against liberals.
Yeah, this guy, now, we may disagree with him, and someone could write an equally crazy leftish comic, easily. So we can't, obviously we disagree with him, and it's racist and horrible, but that's not the only thing that makes it horrible. It's that not even the racist jokes are funny.
And they're not even
they're
not
actively
funny.
Grown and painful.
But they're also, many of them end on this point where it's obvious that the author is trying to be clever. He thinks aha, look at this witty bon mot. I have showed those liberals.
But there was no wittiness whatsoever. None. It was minus wittiness. It's just overt with no subtlety to it at all. It's just blah, 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 kill all Jews. Blah, 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 black people are sucky. It's like, what? All right, that's all you got?
He's got a fact up.
What's the fact?
Okay, what the fuck is up with this website? I made this site to teach people about the Jewish community.
Okay.
Do you hate Jews? No, but I find them hypocritical.
All right.
Were you really adopted by Jews? I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. Apparently, he was adopted by a Jewish family and
resented
them.
it.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just awful. The website was also awful. Everything about this is awful. There is not one good thing about it. It is minus $1 billion. It might win, which means it would lose.
I don't even know what else I can say. I'm dumbfounded by it.
It's basically a crazy conspiracy website.
It looks like
it
one.
just happens to be a webcomic. It's like it was Jew Cube, the comic.
But it's so offensive and crazy, but I get the impression that there's no trolling going on here at all.
None. This guy is serious.
This guy
he believes this 100%. He's not trolling.
There's no way that he does not believe this.
This is a 100% legitimate, for real webcomic. So yeah, Billy the Heretic sure is heretical, that's for sure.
All right, let's blow through the rest of these because I think we have a winner.
Yeah, we still got to go through all of them, though.
We do. Spicy Tornado.
So the deal with Spicy Tornado, right, is I looked into this, and it was submitted mostly because of the meta around this comic, right? So you look at it, and it's basically sort of cute, simple-ish MS Paint comics that are not really funny at all. It's like, it's going somewhere. It's almost like, actually, the one with the sperm and the shopping cart and the car, the golf cart, and then...
It's actually pretty good.
That one's all right. It's got a good joke, at least, right? It's like this guy's going somewhere with his simple joke-telling, slightly. He's like a kid who can tell a good joke once in a while. What's sad about this is that in the meta, I read about this guy, quit his job to do this comic thinking he's going to make a bunch of money. Basically, the kid or whoever made this comic or is making this comic, it's like, my mom told me it was great. And it's like, I'm thinking, is the guy who's making this, it must be like the dude bro guy who was playing Imagine Babies Fashion. It's just someone who is so naive, and so unworldly. Maybe he was homeschooled. I don't even know, right? Just someone who has no idea about the world and, thinks my mom says my comic is great. It's the best webcomic there ever was. Like, have you seen another webcomic?
I actually did not know any of that.
That was what was in the submission, right? So the submission was like...
I didn't read the submission on this one. I don't know why.
The submission says, received a lot of very strong criticism at Face Punch, decided to sign up himself and ask what was wrong with it. He left plenty of perlers there. The fun begins here, right? His posts speak for themselves. Learn about the man behind the comic. It's tragically hilarious and frankly an important part of the submission, right? And there's not a lot of strips. I looked at them all. I didn't actually read every word of every one of them, but it's like basically the reason the comic this was submitted as the worst is because it's just so sad that the guy making it maybe he's like even has Down syndrome or something. I don't even know, but it's like just the guy making it is so sad that like it's like imagine if.
But see, I can't make this one win because I can't.
No, I don't think it's actually the worst.
No,
it's just
by
sad.
Far. But that's the thing.
The meta is sad. It's not bad. It's just sad.
Sad Batman.
Exactly.
That's why I couldn't. If I picked a winner here that
submitted by Brad, I'm not
that
kidding.
made me sad to think about, that makes me a bad person.
Right.
It's got to make me mad or perhaps glad.
The comic's not bad. Just the meta of it is a sad story of someone who quit their job and believes they're gonna make money with. Really not anywhere even close to you can make money with
Scott,
this
it'd be like if we quit our jobs and made Geek Nights full time.
Yeah, but Geek Nights is better than this comic.
Yeah, but we still wouldn't make enough money
That's
to
for
live.
fucking sure. All right, let's move on.
So, Station V3.
Oh, this is the one with like the cute, weird
little blobby
aliens.
guys.
Right, so it's the thing that really bothered me about this one is it seems to have been going on for a while. And I read the beginning and the end and not so much of the middle as the other ones.
I have no idea if there's a plot.
And it seems like if there is a plot, there's been no progression of it, right? It's like it seems like there is a continuity, but it hasn't moved. It's like it's still mostly where it started, even though it's been a while.
Well, it has story arcs in the classic old style of webcomics in a drop-down box, and there's like 50 of them.
Yeah, but you read them and it's like each story, it must be so decompressed, as they say, as to where like you pass over like a minute of time of in-comic time in each story arc. And also, you look at the art now and the beginning art, and it's mostly the same, except he's using the bucket tool to color it. It's like he hasn't changed the art except for coloring it with the bucket tool. So, I mean, in terms of improvement of art, I'd say this is the least improvement over time of any of them that had this stretch to cover.
But again, it doesn't stand out as being particularly bad.
No, I mean, some of the alien things are cute. Like the little things that buzz along the wall with the two eyeballs.
It's already more enjoyable than Garfield.
Yeah, it's like, nothing seems to really happen or tell any jokes, but already good jokes that make you have any humor. But it's not the worst webcomic. Not even close. Not
Just
even
kind of goes on. The little blobby
Billy the
guys.
Heretic is still winning.
I kind of like the little blobby guys.
Yeah, the blobby. I like anything blobby. That's gonna hurt you if you try to tell me something blobby is the worst. A guy in his monkey.com is a 404 GoDaddy squatting site.
Good game.
Right, so there you go. The next submission was chick.com, which is Chick Tracks.
But they are technically online.
Making them webcomics.
The website for Chick looks surprisingly, at first glance, not nearly as crazy as you'd expect.
No, it's like it's basically a cookie cutter e-commerce site.
He clearly paid someone for it.
No, it looks like he either downloaded or basically got a roll your own e-commerce site using Magento or Open Cart or one of those thingies. Open e-commerce and made a site to sell Chick Tracks.
Here's the question, because the submitter even, kind of addresses this. Is it fair to put the Chick Tracks in the same running? Because they're special.
Even if you put the Chick Tracks in the same running, Billy the Heretic is still worse.
True, and I think the reason why is when I read a Chick Tract, I usually laugh.
Yeah, right? Because it's like it's so wrong that it's laughable, right? It's like Time Cube, right? If you take Time Cube as a joke and not as a serious thing, in that way. And it's like it has the meta of Chick Tracks because everyone knows them. It's like you can't not.
It's actually really cheap to order the Chick Tract sets.
That's why you see the crazy people handing them out because they can get them for almost nothing.
We should make some. I know people have made nerdy Chick Tracts before. We should make our own and just put them out there.
People have done that already.
Ponies.
Sure. Control-Delete was submitted again. Now here comes something special. This is maybe the best submission there was.
I was surprised by this when I was going through and I actually looked at it.
Someone made a comic called Geek Nights Comic 1. Or Geek Nights Comic 1, yeah. It's a comic about us, straight up. It's all inside jokes you'll only get if you listen to Geek Nights or go to the Geek Nights forum.
But it's made by taking our Creative Commons licensed videos and
pictures of us and putting speech bubbles on them. They're actually really funny if you know us. They're not funny at all if you don't know us.
Well, what is really interesting to me and why we're going to have a new contest now. This inspired me.
The newest issue comic, though, was just made with sticks and didn't use photos of us.
Yeah, dude, whoever is making this, I didn't really look. Make more, because I kind of like it.
I also like it. Keep making it. But not just because it is ego stroking, because it's legitimately funny.
What I find really interesting, though, is that reading something like this, they're funny to us, but yet you, the listeners out there, you don't know, the real Rim and the real Scott. You know the kind of persona we put on Geek Nights. Our friends often laugh about certain, I don't know, things you believe about the two of us that are very far off the mark, but as far as our personas on Geek Nights are, that's how we are. Like the us is not the us we really are, but the us is actually kind of funny.
Yeah. There's also a double meta in, I think, the third comic where it's like, here, let me read this to you. So do you have it open?
Yes, I have the third one.
The one that's...
so you want to read our parts?
Yes.
The lettering's really bad, so...
Yeah, all right, so I'll start, because I'm the one talking first. So, we're in this webcomic, right?
The wine helps me forget, but I'm not there yet. Why do you ask?
Do you think it was created just to be an entry in the Worst Webcomic Contest?
I expect so. It's certainly a bad webcomic. Come on, dude. When we said we should feel bad about not creating anything, we didn't mean you should make shit just to feel good about yourself. Put some effort into it.
And then the narrator says, all right, how about some of those adventures I promised? Who do you want to meet? And then I say, Rainbow Dash.
How about Kellis? Can you get us a character from a book, or do you not read at all?
Narrator says, those are not public domain.
Creative Commons, you mean?
Narrator says, the point is I can't draw them in this comic.
You actually just can't draw, full stop.
It's true.
I don't know, they made good use of our facial expressions.
This is probably the best webcomic you can make with Rim and Scott as characters, and I salute you. Good job. Keep it up.
Keep it up in a big way.
Yeah, you're a winner. And you made something. Woo! Okay.
Oh, you skipped one.
Did I?
The
Control-Delete, we mentioned it.
Yeah, we did. Never mind.
We're mentioning them all twice because you keep going back into them. Divide the number of times you mention Control-Delete by half. So the next submission, someone linked to spreadsheets.google.com and it was like, hey, share the spreadsheet of submissions to the Worst Webcomic Contest. No. The next one is actually another Control-Delete.
Because butts.
Because butts.
I think at this point, people were just taking the piss.
Yes. Okay, the next one, MG Comics Akuma something.
So, according to the submission, it's one of the, quote, shittiest Sprite comics he's ever read, but apparently it's held up as one of the best Sonic Sprite comics in existence. Now, one, the fact that you would have a category for best Sprite comics, and inside of that, you have a category for best Sonic Sprite comics, and related to that, you know that this is held up as the best of those.
Yeah.
Sprite comics suck.
This is basically...
Except 8-Bit Theater.
Yeah, this comic is basically, it's less than Bob and George, I would say. But it's for Sonic fans, and that's all there is to it. It's pretty awful. The thing that makes it really awful is that even worse than Bob and George is it's hard to read just because everything is so small. It's like the guy doesn't format the comic properly, so you can't even read the letters in there. It's like you need a magnifying glass in some of these strips. I mean, some of them you can read, but some of them it's like you need a magnifying glass to know what's going on in this comic. And it's just, it's basically a mediocre Sonic fanfic with sprites instead of just being a fanfic. That's it.
Yeah, so again, meh, but not bad, not worse.
I give it one bad, not two bads. Okay, another submission for Control-Delete.
It's a comic about computer-aided design, I think.
Another submission of the Geek Nights comic that featured us.
Yep, sorry, dude, someone already submitted it.
Another submission of Control-Delete.
Awesome. And then one that we didn't see until just now. It was
just submitted yesterday, so I didn't see it until just now.
So I'm not sure what to make of this one because it's pretty bad, but Billy the Heretic really beat you to the punch, whoever made this comic.
Yeah, I mean, this comic, obviously you submitted because it's extreme Fox News right-wingish kind of thing, right? So whoever submitted it really
bad
disagreed
political
with it.
views alone do not a bad webcomic make. You could probably make a really good right-wing comic, though I've never seen one. But
I mean, like the ones that actually are less right-wingish, but still right-wing, but make it to the newspaper. Like, what's that one with the duck?
Oh, Mallard, what's it? It's terrible.
It's terrible, but it's not as bad as this.
No.
Right?
That's why that's in the newspaper and this isn't.
Right, exactly. So
anyway, to quote the submitter, it's a horrible and racist and sexist and all that, especially with its super hot, comically huge boobed, half Asian, half Swedish token game girl. Oh, and she's a virgin and conservative.
Yeah. Okay.
And they call Obama a Nazi or something.
They probably do.
There is apparently some more author drama, though.
Okay.
So, according to the submitter, I did not verify this at all. The webcomic author claimed that he was in foreclosure because of, quote, liberal banks that forced him to take a loan he couldn't afford to pay. So he raised money.
Forced him to take a loan?
I don't know. So he raised money from the fans.
If you're right wing, what happened to a personal responsibility, dude?
Oh, but he was forced to by the evil liberals.
Sure.
So he apparently attempted to raise money from his fans, raised some money, and then lost it in a Ponzi scheme.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I read through it, and it wasn't offensive so much as just, again, immemorable.
No, there's offensive stuff. Like, did you see the one with he's got a Chinese guy with huge buck teeth and he just on purpose?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Wow, the word faggot's actually coming up a lot now that I'm going through these archives.
Yeah, the guy, he's pretty just blatantly. I mean, here, there's the one that's like fascism you can believe in, and it's got Obama's face and then a swastika.
I must have picked the wrong random ones to read. This is way more. Okay, I was reading like these Bible-y ones that were just kind of
Yeah, they're Bible ones. There's all kinds. It's like it's comic strip club, right? It's like a club. There's a bunch of different comics. There's Red Eye, Name This Strip, Evolve with Guy Merzger.
There's also the Dinosaur
Evolve with
Comics
Mika and Fascist Obama
ripoff of the Republican and the Democrat with the same art every
right.
every
But the thing
strip.
is, actually, the art in this is 100 times better than Billy the Heretic.
100,000.
Right. Even though it's crazy right wing, it's just Fox News right wing and not Billy the Heretic right wing. It's not like kill all the Jews. He's actually saying Obama's a Nazi like it's a bad thing. I always find that funny. Like, these people act like Obama's a Nazi. That's a bad thing that he's a Nazi. But you also you're the one who hates the Jews. So what's your right?
I have a feeling that the Billy the Heretic guy has not.
It's like
really...
they hate Jews and then they use Nazi as an insult. It's like, what? It's like, are you kidding me?
Well, I love the fact that they usually conflate
you Nazi,
Nazism,
and screw the black people,
fascism,
and screw the Nazis, kill the Nazis and the
racism,
black people.
sexism,
right?
and somehow socialism. Like all those things are somehow the same
it's like
thing.
you don't like socialism or fascism, but wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. It's people like don't know what the words mean, clearly. Anyway, yeah, I mean, this is, if you're a leftist person, this is going to be incredibly offensive to you.
But it's
not the worst webcomic.
Because it's, again, mediocre, immemorable. I'm going to forget it.
I think that a significant number of these entries people just put in because, they personally had a strong disagreement with the views of the author, which is, as you can see in Billy the Heretic, a significant contributing factor. But it's like the rest of the comic, if you would just change the views, if you took this comic strip club and you made it, not about politics, if you made it about video games, and instead of hating blacks, they hated platformers, and instead of, hating Obama, they hated FPSs, and they really liked PlayStation, it's like, this would be an average mediocre webcomic. It wouldn't be,
So, of all the submissions...
That's all the submissions. How many controlled deletes did we have?
Oh, 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
6 submissions of control delete out of
30 submissions.
So, like a fifth of the submissions were control delete. So, control delete, you win the Voters' Choice Award for worst webcomic. Actual worst webcomic, I think, is Billy the Heretic.
Because Billy the Heretic combines all of the aspects, other than I don't think it was checked. No, it is not. As pretends to be a fab comic, but isn't.
That's right.
Or pretends not to be a fab comic, but is.
It also was just in all of the qualities. How bad was the art?
The art is awful. The writing is awful.
The worst.
The message awful. The author crazy.
Yeah, everything in all those other categories, it was off the charts in terms of how bad it was. Maximum craziness, maximum bad art, maximum badness.
Like Billy the Heretic is kind of like the real world. Like a lot of these comics are like a generic schlubby guy that you pass on the street. You don't even notice him. Some of them were like awesome celebrities walking by, and I don't know why you guys didn't like them. But Billy the Heretic is the smelly, angry hobo who physically accosts you when you try to walk by him.
That's right. And that is why it is the worst of webcomics.
So I guess we have our winner. Who submitted this one?
Who did submit Billy the Heretic?
Billy the Heretic. Chance!
Chance, you win something.
We'll send you a prize. We will email you with details.
Or you can email us, maybe let us know what kind of prize you want.
Yeah. You're welcome to read all these other webcomics.
Yeah, put links to all the webcomics on the
I
post.
will put links to all the other webcomics.
You only need to link Control-Delete once, though.
I got to link to it 5 times.
But it was submitted 6 times. And I don't know, if you have any ideas for other worst contests we could do in this fashion, let us know.
I feel like the worst podcast contest was more fun because I could just play examples in the show.
That is true. We can't really show examples unless we did video.
The contest I want to do next, I actually want to do something good. I want to have a mashup contest.
All right.
Like some sort, like I haven't decided the rules yet, but I want to get someone else in on it, like GeekNights Front Row Crew and someone else that does creative stuff.
The thing is, anytime we do a contest where people make stuff, we never get enough submissions, right? We only got a handful of submissions to the GeekNights advertising contest. We only got a handful of submissions of cornucopias.
That is why we want to involve 2 separate fan communities of things and say mash up any combination of these 2 things.
Okay.
That'll at least double the submissions.
We'll see.
Maybe us and Anime World Order.
What are we going to mash up?
I don't know. Audio, video. I guess they don't have enough video.
Yeah.
They've got audio, though.
We'll see. You got to come up with a better idea than a vague idea. You got a real idea.
Yeah, I just want to get people to mash stuff up. And I refuse to do a pony contest, so don't even ask.
The pony contest has already been won. Yay.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.